Hi guys, AJ here. Thank you for joining me for my second episode in the Byte of Python tutorial series. Today I thought I'd break it down a little bit, and what I'm going to do is today's episode will be going over definitions and a few simple things before we get back into coding. We need to clean up some things, and this episode will help us to do that. So the first thing that we're going to do is, what do you do when you run into problems and you need some help? Well, that's very simple. Python has a help feature built into it. If you go to terminal and you type in Python 3 to get into the interpreter, you can type in help and say you want to know about the print function. You just parentheses, open and close, enter, and here you have the definition of what print can be used for. To get back, it's just type Q. You can also just type help, my apologies, help, and open and close parentheses, and then you'll get the full help, and you can type in anything that you want here. Okay, another thing that we need to look at is comments. Comments are very important to other programmers. If you're sharing the workload, and say you're writing one piece of the code and somebody else is writing another piece of code, and you're going to meld it all together into one program, comments will help you with that. To start a comment, anything to the right hand side of the pound sign will be a comment. So I can type in this function will print hello world, and I can save that. And then if I go in and I run that file again, Python 3 hello.py, it still just prints out the hello world and ignores the comment. The comment is for humans to read, and the uncommented stuff is what the machine will read, and the output will come from that. Okay, there's a couple of definitions that we need to take care of before we get back into programming. So this is what we're going to do. I'll just quickly go through these and get them out of the way for this video, and then we'll get back into the programming. So one is literal constants. An example of a literal constant is a number like 5 or 1.23, or a string like this is a string, or it's a string. It is called a literal because it is literal. You use its value literally. The number 2 always represents itself and nothing else. It's a constant because its value cannot be changed. Hence, all these are referred to as literal constants. Numbers. Numbers are mainly of two types, integers and floats. An example of an integer is 2, which is just a whole number. Example of floating point numbers, or floats for short, are 3.23 and 52.3e minus 4. The e notation indicates powers of 10. It is, in this case, 52.3 exponent minus 4 means 52.3 times 10 to the power of minus 4. Note, for experienced programmers, there is no separate long type. The int type can be an integer of any size. Strings. A string is a sequence of characters. Strings are basically just a bunch of words. You will use strings in almost every Python program that you write, so pay attention to the following part. single quote. You can specify strings using single quotes, such as "quote me on this." All white space, i.e. spaces with spaces and tabs, are preserved as is. Double quotes. Strings in double quotes work exactly the same way as strings in single quotes. An example is, "What's your name?" Now here's something that it gets interesting. Triple quotes. You can specify multi-line strings using triple quotes, either with double quotes or with double single. You can use single quotes and double quotes freely within the triple quotes. An example is, "This is a multi-line string. This is the first line. This is the second line. What's your name?" I asked. He said, "Bond, James Bond." Strings are immutable. This means that once you have created a string, you cannot change it. Although this might seem like a bad thing, it really isn't. We will see why this is not a limitation in various programs that we will see later on. Note, for C and C++ programmers, there is no separate char data type in Python. There's no real need for it, and I'm sure you won't miss it. Note, for Perl and PHP programmers, remember that single quoted strings and double quoted strings are the same. They do not differ in any way. Okay, so these are some of the definitions that we needed to take care of. I know this seems like a rather boring part of the tutorial. What I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to condense the films so as to not bore you, but these definitions are going to be necessary as the building blocks as we move forward through the Byte of Python book. And then the next video tutorial that we have, will actually be rolling up our sleeves, getting into the editor, typing code, and running it within the interpreter. So thank you very much, guys. If you have any comments, please leave them down below. I'll also leave a link again to the Byte of Python book that you can download, as well as the python.org website where you can go and download Python. If you have again any comments, leave them below. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much, and we'll see you real soon.